210, death of claimant or person liable, cause of action accruing after the death and before the grant of letters. A, death of claimant, where a person entitled to commence an action, so the potential plaintiff, dies before the expiration of the statute of limitations and the cause of action survives. An action may be commenced by his representative within 1 year after the death. So this is not a tolling for 1 year. Just pay attention. The language in here is it may be commenced by the representative within 1 year after the death. They're just adding an extra year added on to the death. B, death of person liable, so potential defendant. The period of 18 months after the death, within or without the state of a person against whom a cause of action exists, is not part of the time within which the action must be commenced against his executor or administrator. So this, in subdivision B, it is a tolling because the language in here says it's not part of the time. So when you see the phrase not part of the time, that is a tolling. C, cause of action accruing after death and before the grant of letters. In an action by an executor or administrator to recover personal property wrongfully taken after the death and before issuance of letters, or to recover damages for taking, detaining, or injuring personal property within that period. The time within which the action must be commenced shall be computed from the time the letters are issued or from 3 years after the death, whichever event first occurs. And a distributee, next of kin, legatee, or creditor who is under a disability prescribed in 208, which I'll get to, at the time of the cause of action accruing, may, within 2 years after the disability ceases, commence an action to recover such damages or the value of such property as he would have received upon a final distribution of the estate, had an action been timely commenced by the executor or administrator. And a distributee, next of kin, legatee, or creditor who is under a disability prescribed in 208, which I'll get to, at the time of the cause of action accruing, may, within 2 years after the disability ceases, in 2 years after the disability ceases, in 2 years after the disability ceases, commence an action to recover such damages or the value of such property as he would have received upon a final distribution of the estate, had an action been timely commenced by the executor or administrator. If a person entitled to commence an action is under a disability because of infancy or insanity at the time the cause accrues, and the time otherwise limited for commencing the action is 3 years or more, and expires no later than 3 years after the disability ceases or the person under the disability dies, the time within which the action must be commenced shall be extended to 3 years after the disability ceases or the person under the disability dies, whichever event first occurs. If the time otherwise limited is less than 3 years, the time shall be extended by the period of disability. The time within which an action must be commenced shall not be extended by this provision beyond 10 years and beyond 10 years after the cause of action accrues, except in an action other than for medical, dental, or podiatric malpractice where the person was under a disability due to infancy. This section shall not apply to an action to recover a penalty or forfeiture or against a sheriff or other officer for an escape. 207. If the potential defendant is without the state when the cause of action accrues or is in New York State when the cause accrues but leaves New York for 4 or more months, the statute of limitations is told for the period he's outside New York. If he resides in New York under a false name, it's told during such time. This period is also excluded from the 120 service rule period in 306B. Does not apply if 1. Designation of agent, 2. Foreign corporation with officers or persons in state, or 3. Personal delivery within the state is not required for jurisdiction.